In this video, we're learning how to find the area of rectangles and squares. And if you look at the top of our screen, we have these two formulas that can help us. The first one says the area of a rectangle is equal to the length times the width. And the second one says the area of a square is equal to the side length squared. So taking a look at example 1 and 2, I'm actually going to show you guys why these formulas work using visuals. So example 1 says, what is the area of the rectangle below? And area is just how much space a shape takes up. So for number 1, we're going to think of area as how many little 1 by 1 inch or squares are in this rectangle that measures 3 inches by 8 inches. So if I ask you guys, how do you figure out how many squares make up this rectangle? You may be able to tell that we have 3 squares in each row. And we're going to have a total of 8 rows, right? So I'm going to write 3 squares in each row. And I know that we have a total of 8 rows of squares. So to find the total number of squares, I can just multiply that by 8 total rows. And if I multiply 3 by 8, I'm going to get a total of 24 squares. So the area of our shape is 24, and our units are always in our units squared. So 24 inches squared. Now I'm going to show you guys how that is just the same as using the formula up top. So the formula says the area is equal to the length times the width. Let's say the length of this rectangle is 8. I always just say the length is the larger side or the longer side. So I'm going to say our length is 8 inches. And we're going to say our width is our shorter side. So it's going to be 3 inches. And to find the area, we're just going to multiply these together. 8 times 8 is 24. And inches times inches is just inches squared. So that's why our units are always in units squared. So we get an area of 24 inches squared. Taking a look at example 2, this time we have a square and we still broke it up into these little 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter squares. So if I asked you to figure out how many total squares are in this shape, how many little squares, you can probably tell that we have 5 squares in each row, and we have a total of 5 rows. I'm going to multiply it by the 5 rows to get a total of 25 little squares, which means our area is 25 centimeters squared. And I'll show you guys how this relates to our formula. So the area of a squared is equal to our side length squared. Remember, squaring something just means multiplying it by itself. So it's just side length times side length. We know that our side length is 5 centimeters. So we're going to do 5 centimeters times itself. 5 times 5 is 25. Centimeters times centimeters is centimeters squared. So we get an area of 25 centimeters squared. Let's go through 2 more examples. So for these last 2 examples, I encourage you guys to try them on your own, and then you can watch me work through them to make sure that you solve them correctly. So in example 3, we're trying to find the area of the square. So because we have a square, we know the side length is also 12 feet. And let's use the formula for area of a square. So to find the area of a square, we're just going to multiply the side length by itself, or square the side length. In this case, our side length is 12 feet. So we're going to do 12 feet times itself. And 12 times 12 is 144. And feet times feet is feet squared. So we get an area of 144 feet squared. Taking a look at our last example, we want to find the area of this rectangle. So we're going to write our formula. Area equals length times width. I'm going to say our length is the longer side, so 11 millimeters. And we'll say our width is our shorter side of 7 millimeters. And now we're going to multiply. 11 times 7 gives us 77. And millimeters times millimeters gives us millimeters squared. So we get an area of 77 millimeters squared. So hopefully this video helped you guys understand how to find the area of rectangles and squares. If you want more practice problems similar to the ones we worked through today, check out the link in our description for a free practice worksheet.